everyone, and welcome back to Pima Voices. My name is Savannah, and I'll be your host. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Marla Franco, who is a special advisor for the Hispanic Serving Institution Initiatives at the University of Arizona. And today, we're going to be exploring how higher education is leaving a lasting impact on our community. How are you today, Marla?
I'm doing well. I know that was a mouthful, so way to go.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, you have a great title behind you, and I'm excited to delve into that and explore that, what that means, and all the work you've been doing within that, and just like talk about it and kind of educate people a little bit more, sure, especially in the time of October, with it being like Hispanic Heritage Month and how that ties in, and like why is this so important. And so before we super dive into that, why don't we tell people who is Dr. Marla Franco?
Yeah, so I've worked in higher education for about 25 years, exclusively at four-year public universities, now here at the University of Arizona for the past 13 years. Super excited about the role and capacity that I lead and support and serve at the University of Arizona. I know that we'll be talking a little bit as well about serving as one of the founders to a statewide consortium that really helps pull the 21 Hispanic Serving Institutions from across the state together. So I'm very passionate about the work that I do, but I'm also, so passionate about bringing higher education institutions together, for common cause. And so that's where I find my path to Pima Community College. I'm particularly super excited to be newly appointed as a board member at Pima Foundation. And so just super excited to serve in that capacity and, bringing my time's treasures and talents, to the foundation in all ways that they can be utilized, and also serve as a proud parent of a Pima student. So there's kind of a bit of a trifecta.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you don't always think about how things always come together. And then now you see your child's now a student at Pima Community College. So it's like this fun little beautiful circle of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of neat because this is the campus where he primarily takes classes.
Oh, really?
So, I've on occasion been here at this campus for different things that, he's been involved in. And so it was, it's like a little full circle moment to be able to come here to participate in this podcast today.
Oh, that's super exciting. And then now you're a board member with us as well. And
absolutely.
So you have this wonderful tie and to kind of help push and champion the college. So this is really great. And I'm excited to have you here because I was like, oh, she's you have some cool stuff behind you. And I was like, look at her go.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, we mentioned the HSI and everything and how you have this, you co-founded this in 2021 to bring those 21 HSI institutions together. And so why don't you talk a little bit about that and how that came about and why that was so important for you to kind of get that going and bringing that together across the state?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it first starts off with my journey in leading the work at the University of Arizona. In 2018, the University of Arizona first became federally designated as a Hispanic Serving Institution at that time. And really that federal designation comes to HSIs by way of the U.S. Department of Education, really identifying institutions who enroll, at least 25% self-identifying Hispanic and Latinx student populations. And when you think about a region of the southwest part of the state of Arizona, between Pima Community College, the University of Arizona, we're definitely enrolling, high rates of Hispanic Latinx students. And so while I was carrying out that work at the University of Arizona and really started it at a time when there were a lot of unknowns and a lot of ways to keep figuring out what the work looked like, I leaned into it and kind of envisioned what was possible, brought it to fruition at the University of Arizona, but it wasn't easy. And it's no fun to do these things in isolation either. And so I thought to myself, well, this work is already challenging enough as it is, thinking about the opportunity to bring HSIs from across our state together so that we don't have to do it in isolation. What could it look like if we came together, established a community of practice across our state, brought HSIs together so that we could engage in joint professional development and learning opportunities, exchange evidence-based practices about what's working related to student success at our respective colleges and universities, and really to partner with one another around innovative ways to bring about and cultivate more student success, and even to pursue opportunities jointly together where there were common interests. And so I have a colleague who serves as co-founder to the consortium. He's the president of Estrella Mountain Community College, Dr. Ray Rivera. He and I had crossed paths prior to the launch of the consortium. We had both been like award recipients, for something in the state of Arizona a few years ago, and had the opportunity to meet and learn about each other's work. And so I always say that I'm always excited to co-conspire with others across our state for some good trouble. I really just reached out and shared with him some preliminary thoughts and ideas that I had about wanting to bring together the state around these efforts, and asked him if he wanted to join in the endeavors with me. I knew that it was going to be really important for leadership from a 4-year HSI to be partnering with leadership from a 2-year community college HSI and present a united collective front as we launch the consortium. So he's been a great colleague, thought partner, and co-conspirator in this work ever since.
Oh, that's so lovely. I love how you say co-conspirator.
Yes.
You're like, good, fun trouble, but good trouble,
good trouble.
And that's super great. And so do you think having this sort of community, because I feel like sometimes with the universities, we're always fighting against each other, and colleges we're kind of fighting against each other. Do you think this helps bring that whole community just a little bit closer together and have this understanding it is about student success and that student initiative to keep them thriving and keeping them going and so forth? Do you believe having this, how do you say it, consortium is really that benefit that you were seeking, and have I guess has your vision come to life of what you thought it would be to what it is now? Because it's been a few years, right?
Yeah, so we're a few years in, and it's really brought about more than I could have ever dreamed and imagined, to be honest. I often tell people that I have vision that exceeds my lifespan. So, I tell people you better start envisioning yourself, right? Because, we need to be passing the baton to each other to really, carry out continued vision and endeavors to support the higher education needs and the workforce needs of our state, and pathways to Pima and the University of Arizona and all the other HSIs across our state, are incredible places for learning and certificate completion, degree completion, and workforce readiness. So it has beyond exceeded my dreams. But I would absolutely have to say, yes, the consortium has brought about a real, true, genuine, transparent sense of collaboration and support for one another. This work is not easy. And if anything, it's become increasingly more challenging as, we've had some critical discourse around, the value of higher education. And so collectively, I think we present a united front. I think there's a lot of energy and opportunity for faculty, staff, administrators, key stakeholders across our state, and students to get involved in the consortium. So it provides a pathway to many to take on leadership roles, to help co-vision what it looks like moving forward in the years to come. And people get a real opportunity to get connected, plugged in, and to be a part of things that are bigger than themselves and even larger than their own specific institution that they work at. We're rowing our boats in the same direction, and what a united front, what an impact that we can collectively make, as opposed to, making impact in isolated, efforts and endeavors.
And why do you think it's so important for a university or college to be designated as an HSI institution? Like, why is that so important over, you know, being designated something else? Like, why is it important to be that Hispanic serving institution, especially here at the college and the university? Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think especially in thinking about the University of Arizona and Pima Community College, for example, and where we're situated, you know, in the greater Tucson area and serving the greater region of Southern Arizona, the entire state of Arizona. And oftentimes, you know, we've got learners from across the nation or across the world who are connecting to our educational programs and certificate programs. So it absolutely, I think, is pertinent because it really signals that there's parity between representation among students and learners that we're enrolling and what the demographics look like for a state like Arizona. I mean, in the state of Arizona, you have nearly 50% of our K through 12 population who identify as Hispanic Latinx. And so for us not to see enrollment that mirrors that representation at both Pima, at the U of A, and so many other of our institutions across our state, then that means that, you know, we have work to do when it comes to accessing our higher education institutions. And when we think about how we are often engines for fulfilling the economic and need and other types of needs, social needs of our state, we have to be preparing a workforce that is educated and well trained to serve the various needs of our state. And so we've got a piece to play in that really important role. And it's really important that folks across our state have you know, an opportunity to be a part of that. And oftentimes higher education institutions and pathways to degree completion are a stepping stone to being able to, you know, serve the needs of our state.
Well, I can totally see why there's a doctor behind your name or in front of your name. You're a co-founder. Like, it makes sense. You know, exactly. You have this like great vision and idea and understanding of like, what are the needs that we can do to better higher education, understand like you said, like there was kind of issues with like, is higher education even worth it? Should we be telling students to go this or that? But like, it can be worth it, right? And we can do things to make it better and serve the students that come to each campus and so forth, and understanding that demographic and having this kind of makes you realize like, we are understanding who is coming to our college and how to better serve them and give them the education that they need. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, when we think about it, right, not all learners access or engage our institution in the same ways, you know, so it really begs us to learn about, for example, the unique needs of our veteran student population who might be parents or caregivers to elders in their household, right? Thinking about our learners who have challenges around housing and transportation needs, right? And so all of those things, the more that we are mindful and intentional about constructing learning experiences that account for the lived experiences and realities of our learners, the better off that they're able to succeed and fulfill their own hopes and dreams. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And like, I mean, with you and your role that you have at the U of A and everything that you've done, I mean, you received multiple honors for things. One of them is one of the 40 leading women in higher education, all this stuff. And like now you're serving on the foundation board. And so what do you think, obviously everything that you've learned and you've done and the recognition you've received, how is that going to help you as a board member and the vision that we can all collectively have for the college? What do you think are like some of those aspirations that you can bring in to kind of like help us do our job to champion the college and so forth? Like, what do you see yourself as a board member?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, often as a leader in higher education, you know, sometimes I sit and think and reflect on my own higher education journey. I myself am a first-generation college graduate. And I think about that 17-year-old version of myself and how she went off to college and how she left home and how she landed at a wonderful higher education institution that was her dream school. But when she landed on that campus, she was navigating it in a way that seemed like she didn't have the playbook on how to navigate college or university life. Right. And I felt like so many other students did. They seemed to know what to do. They seemed to know what things meant. They seemed to know where to go. And, I think about that experience. And obviously, there were lots of important people that came across on my path, both at the university I attended and, people who supported me back at home, that ensured that I thrived. And so certainly I made it through to degree completion and went on to, earn and pursue other degrees. But I think about that experience when I think about my own leadership at the University of Arizona and when I think about my contributions as a new board member, right? I think about the myriad of students who come to Pima Community College to pursue their own hopes and dreams. And I know that it's oftentimes not just their individual hopes and dreams, but it's like a household, manifestation. It's a community manifestation of possibility, right? And so I think about all the Pima Community College students who are learners now. I think about all who have come through Pima's doors and have successfully, completed what they came here to do. And I think about kind of the generations to come through the doors of Pima Community College. And what role can we play as board members to facilitating the college being able to succeed at supporting students through any of those entry points into higher education here. And so, I take it both as an immense honor and both as, a really important responsibility. It's a responsibility to this state, to this community, to the college. It's a responsibility to the 17-year-old version of myself who was navigating college for the very first time. And it's even a promise to like my own student, my own son, who's a learner here, right? So I wear many hats, right? As a board member, as a higher education leader of 25 years, but also as a proud parent of a Pima Community College student. Like I have a vested interest, that is deep and is personal. I want my son to succeed. I want him to encounter welcoming and affirming and supportive learning spaces here as he pursues his educational hopes and dreams towards a career path, of his interest. And not I want that for him, but I also want that for all learners here at Pima Community College. And so how can I plug into something like the foundation to really support that work at scale?
I mean, you can hear there's like a lot of passion in it for you. And I'm sure your 17-year-old self would be so proud of where you've come. Like,
Thank you.
It was challenging at a time of like, being new to the college education and like, what am I doing here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And now you've taken your personal experience and elevated that to make it something far superior for the next generation of students. And who knows how many more to come. And so thank you for everything that you've done, because like that takes a lot of will and just like leadership and just motivation and just understanding of like what greatness we can do as a community, not even just as an individual, but as a community. Like if we all work together, like you took your leadership skill and your personal experience, and then you brought in the community and all these different schools, and you've brought them together because, we can do better as a team. And like you've just done so many great things to kind of build that community and make it better. So thank you for doing that. That's amazing work. So I'm like I said, I'm sure your 17-year-old self would be very proud of where you've come and how far you've come. And I'm sure there's many more great things that we're going to expect from you.
Sure, absolutely.
And so before we end our session, is there any advice you want to give to any other educational leaders who want to create just as transformative opportunities as you've had for, I guess you could say, like underdeserved students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I have, definitely a couple recommendations. I think, one of them is, I often, like to acknowledge that while there's a lot of passion and interest and zest for the work that I do, that's been fueled and supported by many who have come before me. Mm-hmm. And so I actually brought something that I wanted to show you. So I didn't tell you about this in advance.
I was like, what's this?
Yes. But so I myself, like I said, am a first-generation college student in my immediate family. And what was interesting about my college journey is that while I completed my degree first, there was someone in my life really, really important to me and continues to be important to me, even though she's no longer with us, who was somewhat concurrently modeling the way. And that was my grandmother. And when I think about kind of the greatest inheritance that I could have ever received in my life from her, it was the value and the passion that I have around education that was bestowed to me from her in so many ways. Not just in what she verbalized to me, but what she demonstrated to me. And so she actually became a widow at a relatively young age, and life kind of took a turn where she needed to figure things out for herself. And she knew that she needed to really think from a career perspective what was going to support her, knowing that she was on her own at a certain point. And she turned to education, higher education, to really think about career-wise what her future needed to be like. And so her entry point, which was the most accessible entry point at that point, was to access higher education via community college. And so I'm born and raised in Southern California, and that's where she was at the time. And so these are like my prized possessions from her that I asked for. And this is her associate's degree and diploma from Citrus College, which is a community college in Southern California.
I just want to cry right now. This is so heartwarming and amazing to see.
So she earned an associate in science in library technology. And, this is a visual reminder to me about not just the power of higher education and what it did in my own life, but also, the care and the support in nurturing my own children towards pursuing their own passions and endeavors. And then what I can do and what's possible through the consortium in taking a statewide approach, and then what's possible through board service here at the foundation. So she earned this after many, 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 many years. I mean, she was working full time. She had grown children, grandchildren at the time, and sometimes was taking one class at a time, two classes at a time. It was, it was a long journey for her. But she eventually transferred to a four-year institution, and this is her bachelor's degree.
Oh my gosh.
And so she earned her bachelor's of science in applied business and management. And this is a bit of a full circle moment because the institution that she earned her bachelor's degree from is the very same institution that I ended up earning my doctoral degree from.
Oh my.
And so the stage and the room that she was bestowed and conferred her degree in ended up being many years the same institution where I was conferred my doctoral degree. So
you had this very special moment with her, knowing that you guys were in the same room receiving your guys' degrees. That's so powerful, and that's so, I don't even know how to explain it.
So I think regarding the question that you asked, I think as higher education leaders, we need to remember our why. Mm-hmm. And we need to, I think about, the 17-year-old version of myself. I think about my son's journey and his unique needs. And I also think about, my grandmother's journey and what her unique needs were and what support systems needed to be around her so that she could earn these milestones that, helped her connect certainly to a career and, certainly, job opportunities and a career that helped her sustain herself. But these things fuel me. And I think that as higher education leaders, as we think about, how best to serve historically underserved populations, is to think about the myriad of ways that our learners show up to us, right? Mm-hmm. Our learners show up as maybe widows. Our learners show up with prior work experience that is extensive. Our learners show up to us with extensive responsibilities at home for caregiving. Our learners show up to us eager and passionate to earn degrees and pivot to the workforce quickly. So how do we center ourselves daily to remember those things and use them as a lens to inform the decisions that we make?
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really wonderful and really special, and just makes you really sit there and think for a second of you have this wonderful drive, and it all kind of started and stemmed from your grandmother, and to see her succeed and sometimes it doesn't take a year or 2 years. Sometimes it takes many years, and that's okay, but you can still do it. And
Absolutely.
Then you can move on or maybe your journey ends here with a certificate or something, but you can still continue to move on and get your bachelor's. And then you can continue to move on and get your master's, your doctorate, and all of that. And so I just think it's such a wonderful, amazing, powerful moment that you probably had when you walked across that stage and got your doctorate, knowing your grandma walked across that stage at one point and got her bachelor's. And
absolutely.
Oh, I'm all emotional. I'm this is a Hallmark movie or something. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much again for sharing that. And
of course.
I can hear, I said, I can hear the passion in your voice about everything and how much it, higher education means not just to you, but obviously to your family, and what it could mean for your son and what it could mean for the future. And it's leaders like you who have not forgotten what is the why, right? We always try to figure out sometimes we have our bad days at work or something and things just aren't going right, or we're grumpy about traffic, but it's just what is our why? And then it's it comes to us in different moments of the day or different times of the month or the year, and then you just see that moment and you're that's my why. And so I love how your why is always kind of with you, and so it's wonderful, and I can't wait to see what you bring as a board member, your vision, your ideas, and so forth. And I think you're a really wonderful addition to the board member team. So thank you so
I'm
much.
so excited. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much again for coming in and sharing everything today. I wish we could continue talking about everything else. I tell everyone this all the time, we never have enough time to talk about everything, but I learned so much about you and your passion and your drive, and I can see it and I can hear it, and I feel all the recognition you received is well deserved, and just you're gonna continue doing great things, and it's very wonderful to have you be a part of our Pima Foundation family. So
happy to join. Super excited about the work ahead.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in today's episode, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.